Have you ever said something and instantly wished you could take it back? Have you ever explained yourself over and over, only to realize that the more you speak, the less people actually listen? In a world that never stops talking, everyone is fighting to be heard. They speak louder, they argue harder, they chase attention. But ironically, the ones who say the least often hold the most power. They don't need to shout to be respected. They don't need to argue to win. They possess something far more compelling, an invisible force that commands attention without demanding it. For centuries, Stoicism has guided emperors, generals, and some of history's greatest minds in mastering their emotions, thoughts, and destinies. And their most powerful weapon wasn't words, it was silence. When you control your speech, you control your mind. When you resist the urge to react, you see everything with greater clarity. In this video, you'll discover how the art of silence can help you take charge of yourself, amplify your influence, and shape a future that truly belongs to you. Listen closely, because what you're about to learn might just change the way you see the world. When silence is power, your own words can sometimes be the very thing that limits you. How many times have you spoken only to regret it moments later? How often has a careless remark damaged a relationship or cost you an opportunity, simply because you couldn't resist the urge to speak? This is why the wise choose silence, not because they have nothing to say, but because they understand that silence is a powerful tool for maintaining control and preserving inner strength. Silence is not passivity or avoidance. It is the strategy of those who observe, analyze, and act with precision. A wise person does not waste energy on meaningless arguments or impulsive words. Every word carries weight, and every time you speak, you make a trade-off. The founder of Stoicism, Zeno of Citium, once advised, "Better to trip with the feet than with the tongue." A reckless word can have lasting consequences. How can you cultivate the art of silence? First, learn to observe more than you speak. In a discussion, try to hold back longer than usual. Listen carefully before responding. When provoked, resist the urge to react immediately. Pause, take a breath, and ask yourself, is this worth trading my peace for? Throughout history, great leaders have understood the power of silence. Jesus Christ stood in silence before his accusers. That was not weakness, it was ultimate strength. Within that silence was wisdom, self-control, and an unwavering focus on what truly mattered. Silence is not a sign of weakness. It is a mark of intelligence. The right silence at the right time is power. 2. Listen first, speak last. Have you ever truly listened to someone, not to respond, but to understand? Not to argue, but to absorb? We often believe that power lies in speaking, in persuasion, in having the sharpest words. But the truth is, the less you speak, the more power you hold, the power of observation, of understanding, of wisdom. Aristotle once said, "It is the mark of an educated mind to be able to entertain a thought without accepting it." A truly strong mind does not rush to argue or impose. It knows how to remain silent, to absorb, to reflect, and to speak only when necessary. Listening requires discipline, focus, and humility. It helps you understand yourself and others more deeply. The next time you're in a conversation, pause before speaking. Sometimes in that silence, you will see the truth more clearly. 3. Control your words, conquer emotions. Have you ever said something in a moment of anger, only to regret it later? A fleeting impulse, a thoughtless remark, and suddenly you realize you've lost control. But what if you could stay silent? What if you could pause, observe, and act only when necessary? Silence is not weakness. It is the highest form of self-control. When provoked, the best response is not always to argue, but to let others reveal their own nature. Napoleon Bonaparte once said, "Never interrupt your enemy when he is making a mistake." When you control your words, you control your emotions. And when you control your emotions, you control yourself. 4. Humility unlocks true strength. The most powerful person in the room is often the one who speaks the least. They don't rush to dominate the conversation. They don't feel the need to list their achievements. True confidence doesn't come from proving yourself with words. It comes from letting your actions speak for you. A man who works hard without complaining earns more trust than someone who constantly reminds others of their efforts. Silence is not just about humility, it's about control. The person who argues at every provocation is the easiest to manipulate. But when you learn to stay calm, to pause instead of reacting, you take back your power. 5. Protect your energy, guard your mind. Have you ever felt completely drained just from talking too much? Meaningless conversations, unnecessary complaints, and pointless arguments all slowly deplete your energy. Every word you speak requires mental effort. If wasted on trivial matters, it leaves little energy for what truly matters. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." When you speak less, you think more. You gain control over yourself. And when you control yourself, you influence the way the world responds to you. Are you ready to embrace the power of silence? If this message resonates with you, subscribe and join us on this journey to mastering yourself. Remember, true power doesn't come from speaking more. It comes from speaking with purpose.